Hi, this is Fern G. Carr, website www.ferngzcarr.com. Welcome to my Facebook Live reading, Supernatural Wordplay, Part 2, Wordplay. Well, like I say, people are probably joining me here and there. If you've just tuned in, welcome to my themed poetry reading series. I will be starting my second theme now, and I'll take questions after that. My second theme is wordplay, and I had so much fun with wordplay in this series. I've always enjoyed solving all types of puzzles and playing word games like Scrabble and Boggle and doing jumble puzzles. That combined with my love of poetry was the genesis for these poems. Now, some are serious and some are downright goofy, and you'll definitely be able to tell which are which. Three of these poems even include a tribute to celebrated writers. So the first poem is called In Passing. Now, if you've ever watched the game show Wheel of Fortune, you're probably familiar with the before and after category, and that's where each word relates to the word before it, and that creates two separate phrases from one. So for example, if you had tickled pink grapefruit, that would be tickled pink and pink grapefruit. So I expanded on this idea to create expressions that ran into each other. And finally, I tied the theme together with a beautiful quote from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's poem, Tales from a Wayside Inn, Part 3, The Theologian's Tale, Elizabeth IV. This one takes a lot of diaphragmatic breathing, so I hope I don't run out of breath. In Passing. Iron bars do not a prison make, love not war, and peace in our time is money, makes the world go round off to the nearest decimal place, the ring on her finger, and repeat after me, I never touch the stuff that dreams are made of. Of course I don't mind your step to the front of the line of fire, burn, and cauldron, bubble wrap up the meeting, one on one swallow does not a summer make. Merry Christmas one and all for and one. I told you this would be tough. All for one and one for all. Hell broke loose lips sink, ships that pass in the night and speak each other in passing. Only a signal shone and a distant voice in the darkness. So on the ocean of life we pass and speak one another, only a look and a voice, then darkness again and a silence. Whew, that was a tough one. Okay, Sense and Sensibility. Now that's spelled S-C-E-N-T-S. So it's a spoof on Jane Austen's book, Sense and Sensibility, and that accounts for the tongue-in-cheek epigraph at the beginning of this poem. Since you can't see this in written form, unfortunately, it might not be so apparent when I'm reading, but I incorporated the word scent, S-C-E-N-T, as in smell, 37 times in this poem. So talk about wordplay, right? Okay. Sense and Sensibility, with apologies to Jane Austen. Sensitivity to the sensibilities of those suffering from scent allergies is basic common sense. As sentient beings, we should have the presence of mind to accentuate the sensible and serve as sentinels to stave off their nonsensical, senseless descent into a cesspool of perfumes, incense, and scented candles. Their sensual without their acquiescence or consent, and regardless of their dissension and absence of choice. How indecent of society to be so insensitive. Instead, wouldn't it be sensational for people to have the incentive to assent 100% and free these sensory slaves from their sensory sentence. We mustn't be complacent. A message needs to be sent. But these are just my sentiments. So I hope you don't resent my putting in my 2 cents worth. Okay, another goofy poem. Seducement. They say that the English language is one of the most difficult languages to learn, and it can certainly be very, very inconsistent. And I'm always quick to pick up on these quirks. So I decided to pen a short poem highlighting a few of them. So this is called Seducement. If the result of a seduction is that someone's been seduced, then during an induction, wouldn't athletes be induced? And if an inducement eases childhood labor, isn't it seducement to titillate your neighbor? Waiting, we're always waiting, then we're doing more waiting, and it seems like we're always waiting for something. So this poem is exactly about that. Enumeration. Waiting for Godot, the waiter to bring my order, summer, being taken off hold, contractors to arrive, the oven to preheat, holidays, test results, the doctor, a pizza delivery, the light to turn green, water to boil, first place in line, the phone to ring, customer service, a delayed flight, my turn, a lucky break, something better to come along, a time to stop waiting. Now, this poem, Witch's Brew, is actually a combination of my 2 themes. It's a combination of supernatural and wordplay. So I used some quotes from Macbeth. Now, they're italicized in the print version, so again, you won't be able to see this seeing I'm reading it aloud, but you'll definitely recognize the epigraph. Witch's brew. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. William Shakespeare, The Tragedy of Macbeth, Act 4, Scene 1. Incantations cackled over a roiling cauldron stirred by warty hands. The bubbling brew, not so sinister a potion as the 3 black and midnight hags intended. A feeble soup, no hemotoxic venom from a serpent's poison glands, only an adder's fork. No salmonella-infected lizard's leg or scale of dragon, both being bereft of bacteria by boiling. No avian influenza, a virus dwelling within, not without on its host owlet's wing. No swine flu from a sow's blood after having eaten her 9 farrow, nor AIDS from the baboons, both afflictions yet unevolved. No rabid tongue of dog or tooth of wolf, canine and lupine saliva having long lost their bite. All in all, a disappointingly tame concoction, but for the toxic alkaloids in root of hemlock and the taxine in the slips of yew, plus who knows what in the poisoned entrails. That aside, after dilution and boiling, the charmed pot may not have been so potent, resulting in a harpy's hodgepodge of a potage, likely no worse than haggis. Perhaps better, since fillet of a fenny snake probably just tastes like chicken. And for my final poem, Toast and Enjambment. If there are any Monty Python fans out there, you might remember the album they did, I'm dating myself here, Matching Tie and Handkerchief. And on the record, they had 2 concentric grooves. So depending on where the stylus was placed onto the record, different material would play. So that gave it the reputation of being a three-sided record. You never really knew what you were going to get. And that was my inspiration for this poem. I used a variation on the poetic technique of enjambment. So while the first lines of each stanza spill into like the next line, because I just have 2-line stanzas. So in other words, the wording at the end of the line spills into the next line. So I used this technique to basically create 2 separate poems in one. And the tone and attitude are both very different in both poems. Toast and enjambment. Waitress, I'm dying for breakfast. That serves you right. Away I'm coming, sir. I could kill for toast and jam, miss. Oh yeah? I'm going to make you pay for your food. Don't think I'm going to give it to you for free just because you make me mad with desire. And I love you in that handsome suit. Well, I hope you enjoyed the poems I read. As I mentioned earlier, for more information, my website is www.ferngzcarr. My Wikipedia article is under Fern G. Carr. I would really invite you for more poetry, beautifully illustrated, if I do say so myself, to visit my YouTube channel. And I would love it if you would subscribe. Subscription is free. And my book, Shards of Crystal, is available on Amazon and also Silverbow Publishing. And before I take some questions, I'll just invite you to please join my next 3 readings, each consecutive Saturday, forthcoming. And next week's themes are going to be war and astronomy. Acknowledgements. All poems contained herein and acknowledgements photo, copyright Fern G. Carr. Part 2 is an excerpt from the original full video, which was kindly sponsored by the League of Canadian Poets and the Canada Council for the Arts. Thanks very much for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to like, and please be sure to subscribe. For more poetry, my book Shards of Crystal is available on Amazon. Thanks again, and stay tuned for a new video every Wednesday.